Yo, it's your boy Glenn Lawrence, and I'm back with the Hudsman. Yesterday, if you caught yesterday's episode, we were diving into a story about um, David Reimer and an evil doctor by the name of John Money. Today, we are going to dive in a little deeper. We kind of want to know where this doctor got his information, what pushed him to study these things and even think about going this route. And we're about to get into that. But before we do we want to do a recap. And Huds over here is going to give us a good recap on what we were talking about yesterday. Huds, go ahead.
What's interesting with this whole thing. So, if you notice this here, you got John Money. Well, what do you have at the top? You have the Kinsey Institute. What is the Kinsey Institute? Well, all of the research done from John Money stemmed from Alfred Kinsey. And now let me read a little bit about this. And this might get this is definitely a lot darker than what we had talked about yesterday. But a quick search on Dr. John Money will bring you to the Kinsey Institute, where he's still celebrated as an important figure in advancing the study of sex and sexuality. The Kinsey Institute, named after Alfred Kinsey, produced papers and research that was fundamental in bringing forward the sexual revolution of the 60s and 70s, whereby all traditional sexual norms were toppled and replaced with the era of free love. Well, so how did Alfred Kinsey do this? Academia has a long history of promoting sexual abuse under the guise of science, as we had talked about. The sexual revolution, which removed all sexual restraints, referred to Alfred Kinsey's so-called research on human sexuality as its scientific guiding manual. So what he did is why we're accepting and will be pushed for a lot more fluidity. Okay. But what did he do? So, in order to break all sexual taboos, Kinsey collected data from numerous pedophiles under the guise of scientific research. It was said that Dr. Kinsey continually encouraged these pedophiles to keep sexually abusing children for the sake of the scientific research on human sexuality, which involved child sexuality. What does that make you like? So he just would meet with these pedophiles and say, hey, dude, keep doing what you're doing and report back to me so I can put it in my journal so that I can then publish it.
Yeah, he's like, hey, bro, you still fucking that little kid in the ass? Yeah. Well, look, next time when you do it, can you write down like a detailed, recap for me? Because I'm putting it in my journal with all the other sick fucks so I can masturbate to later. I mean, I'm sorry to say, but that's exactly what this guy sounds like. Like, he's this, like, how can you encourage such behavior? Like, the weird thing is like science, people hide behind science. It seems like they have no decency, that they have no integrity whatsoever. No, we're doing this on the basis of science. We must know what? You must know what? How tight a little boy's butthole is, you sick fucks. Like, what do you gain from that?
Essentially, and we'll dive into it as we talk. Essentially, it was like, gender is fluid and it can be anything, and sexuality is fluid, it can be anything, and nothing is wrong. I don't understand how this could be used as basis for fucking anything, because it's just disgusting. I don't understand it.
I want to read something real quick here, and it's this is like a quote from this chick, right, that was speaking at a TED Talk. Her name was Madeline van der Bergen. I think she spoke in 2018, right? She makes the case that pedophilia is simply a sexual orientation and can neither be chosen or changed. She appeals to us to stop with the hate. She argues that everybody probably knows someone with a pedophilic interest. And really, They're just like you. Most of them don't talk about it because it's illegal. But then here she asks, then she goes, imagine if you were told that you can never act on your passion, how lonely that must be. She's trying to hit us with an emotional reaction to try to what, sympathize with the.
Imagine if I could never diddle a kid.
Yeah, how
How
lonely.
lonely. That would be such a lonely reality. What the hell? Where's the logic here? It's
I don't
like
know.
saying, imagine a world where I can't walk down the street and see a girl that I'm very attracted to and then assault her.
Yeah.
That's a lonely, lonely world that I live in. What are we talking about?
Here's my question. Right.
Yeah.
So sexually assaulting a child, and you not acting on that we should feel extremely sad for you, right? Because you cannot rape a child, you know. Sorry, bro. So, but a guy makes a comment to a girl at work about a blouse looking nice on her, and that's sexual assault, and you want to make sure that that man goes to jail. Does that make sense? Because it really,
Glenn,
like I said,
you're just insensitive. You just don't
no.
understand.
But here,
I
here, here,
know.
here's where I think it's a real. This is still part of the attack on masculinity to an extent, right? Because we are going to criticize, and demonize heterosexual men for acting heterosexually and not committing any crimes, not breaking any laws, not committing any violence or any acts of violence or penetration, anything like that. But just by complimenting or making a comment to a woman, that's a crime. That's offensive enough to get you, lose your job or be faced with horrible accusations and charges. But they want us to sympathize with the people that want to do things sexually to minors. Because
Tell you
most of
what,
these people, most of these pedophiles, like the majority of these pedophiles, they're not going after little girls so much. Most of these pedophiles are attracted to little boys.
is that true? Do you have stats for that?
Let me. I was reading something. I'm going to pull up. That can't be quoted as per yet, but I'm going to pull up some statistics and see what I can find here. All right,
Okay.
because from what I read in the article, it said most of the majority of this doctor was reading is like he talks to a lot of men having an attraction to younger men. So, but
Typically I do find more of those stories, so I'm really curious. But
but
anyways,
keep on going while I'll research that. You keep on going.
sounds good, man. So anyways, as we dive deeper into this, so what did Mr. Alfred Kinsey do? Well, in this glorious chart here that is brought out from his book, Table 32, Speed of Pre-Adolescent Orgasm. Duration of stimulation before climax. Observations timed with a second hand. So I guess 1, 2, 3, something like that, or a stopwatch. Ages range from 5 months of age to adolescence. So as long as they weren't an adult, he was experimenting by trying to make these children orgasm. Now, explain to me this. That was one of the things that we were talking about before, and one of the things that still blows my mind. You know when a guy orgasms because you ejaculate. You can't always 100% tell when a girl is orgasming. Also, if they're 5 months old, what are we doing here? This is medical research that we're pushing forward, and there's no definitive. We were talking about this. There's a difference between qualitative and quantitative research. Qualitative is more of like the interview based, getting the flavors and understanding and then coming out with something afterwards. This, based on his chart and how he's doing it, because it's timed, it is a quantitative research study. How the hell was he measuring this? How do we know any of it was accurate? And why do we allow this to go on for the sake of science? Like, what am I missing here? Because I must be missing something.
Dude, I don't know because I don't get it. I'm so fucking confused.
Dude, I like it is mind blowing to me that this went on and it was the basis for a lot of all these different theories as we talk about queer theory and modern gender theory and all the stuff that we know about the sexual revolution. Like, I just, to me, this is torture. It's abuse. And yet he was allowed to do it, and it's allowed to be published, and he's allowed to be revered.
Why? I
I'm
mean,
I'm just I'm dumbfounded. I think the issue, truly, I think the issue is that most people don't even know about this. They don't know the history. They
no.
will stand up and they will fight for what they believe to be their rights, even though a lot of their rights may have came from the history. They
I
don't even
mean,
know their own history. You know what I mean?
it's just disgusting. It just I don't understand how. And then you got to wonder, like the people that end up falling for like or really supporting this and really want to get into this, thing here or this community of people, not just the dirty pedophiles, but like everybody else that goes through transitions and whatnot. You have to wonder if they support this guy and they agree with this guy and everything, what draws them over there? I wonder what is the underlining theme that draws them over there.
I think it's
It's
the dysphoria and it's a lack of self-worth,
I
and
think it's
they're trying to find a place.
I think there might be just a level of perversion in there that we just don't understand.
Well, if we're talking purely pedophilia, it's definitely a level of perversion.
I mean, that's the foundation of all of this. That's the foundation. That's
Yeah.
where everything from that community stems from this foundation of molesting children. So there is some level of perversion at its root.
I just don't think that most modern day people that are transgender even understand that. I don't think they even know the history because they don't care. They just want to be comfortable in their own skin. And that's why they choose to change their skin. And there's nothing wrong with, okay, modern day, you weren't involved with this, but this is the basis of all of it. And it's really weird. It's really weird to at least think of it that way. That
Well, it's
this is the basis of this gender fluidity that we have nowadays.
I just yeah. Again, you have to go back to the wondering why, what draws people to it. Like now, maybe the people that are drawn into it have experienced some form of abuse themselves. Maybe like a lot of the people that were I mean this is just me thinking out loud, so people could take it how you want. I'm not trying to sound stupid or anything, but it's just like maybe the people that have most of the people that have been decided to transition over had some experience of you know child abuse or molestation to a degree that they didn't know about, or they're not really aware of, or whatever the case may be, or even if they do remember it or know about it, they got to the point where they are um they're disgusted by their skin or their body because of some act that was done to them, and they're like, I would just want to be different, so I don't, you know what I'm saying, like I don't know, I'm just thinking maybe part of that has to do with it, that and because a lot of times crimes don't get reported. So maybe
Right.
these kids, the people were abused as a child or something, and that has contributed to their choice to transition. I don't know.
Well, if we talk even just briefly about Bruce, where David, he was born Bruce, he was named Brenda, and then when he transitioned back, he transitioned into David. He didn't transition back to Bruce. And the reason why is because he didn't want to have anything to do with the old identity that he was lied about. So it could be that as well. It's escaping from an old identity.
Yeah,
So,
absolutely. He was escaping from his old identity. He didn't
mhm,
want anything to do with Bruce, but he definitely didn't want anything to do with Brenda
yeah.
either, you know.
Well, let's continue a little bit more because we got a lot more we can talk about here. I mean, this is a heavy one. This is a really heavy thing to kind of swallow. I just can't believe that this was okay and accepted. It's really weird. So the chart showing the average stimulation time before climax of children as young as 5 months from Alfred Kinsey's Sexual Behavior in the Human Male. And this guy is he's still revered. He still has the Kinsey Institute. I mean, he has passed away, but they still have the Kinsey Institute. John Money is still revered on there. I understand we want to learn more about the world, but there's a right and a wrong way to do it. And I think this was the wrong way. And things get even darker here. Well, not darker than that, but things continue to be dark here. One of the pedophiles Kinsey corresponded with was a Nazi officer, Dr. Fritz von Bolusek. Balsack? We'll go with Balsack, who raped and documented his victim's reaction in order to help with the research. Are you kidding me? Let me read the rest of this here. So the only reason we were made aware of this pedophile's correspondence with Kinsey was due to the murder investigation of a 10-year-old girl, whereby Interpol demanded that the Kinsey Institute release von Balsack's letters to the German investigators, which the Kinsey Institute refused. As we said before,
So they could just say, no, thank you. We're not going to oblige.
well, they did, but they ended up getting them anyways because they have to, because it's a murder investigation. But it is wild to me that they said no. And it's wild to me that, we talk about these pedophiles. We're not even talking about him encouraging pedophiles. He was encouraging pedophiles and murderers to continue doing what they're doing in the name of science. How
Yeah.
is anything that this man did credible?
Well, I mean, it's done for science, so I mean, come on
Oh,
now.
it's done for science. So,
Like, dude, it's all about learning. We're only doing this to learn shit.
oh my God. It does. It makes me pretty sick to my stomach.
Mm-hmm. It's fucking disgusting. Fucking disgusting.
We're not even going to dive into this whole thing here, but there's a documentary on it. It's pretty dark as well. All right. So
I'm
now,
almost. I'm going through these statistics right now, and I'm
yeah.
gonna once I find the age here, they're breaking it down in like all these different categories. So there we haven't got to age yet, but I'll brief you guys up on that in a minute. Go ahead.
Are white blonde males number one?
Well, white. Most victims were white. Yeah. Well, nearly. Yeah.
Aye, aye, aye. Well, anyways, so we got a grand old next title here. The justification behind normalizing sexual crimes against children. Buckle up. This is the dark history behind the sexual revolution, of which the Kinsey reports served as the revolution's guiding manual. I bet you'd be less surprised now to know how the Kinsey Institute, which produced the Kinsey reports, also honors Dr. John Money as an important figure of scientific research on human sexuality. After all, Dr. John Money also defended pedophilia as just another
No
part
shit, right?
of human sexuality.
Of course.
These are the people that were the foundation of current gender rules, gender norms, gender theory. It's unbelievable that it was all based in pedophilia. And it wasn't, it's not like there was one bad egg. They're all bad eggs. And if they're all bad eggs, that should tell you something. All right. So, how does the normalization of pedophilia through the sexual revolution relate to critical race theory? You can trace the roots of the sexual revolution to the French philosopher Michel Foucault, one of the most influential thinkers in the post-structuralist movement. Those who are familiar with academic trends will know that Foucault is one of the most was one of the most beloved intellectuals of the American left. His ideas set the stage for the critical theory craze, which is taught in universities all over. Now is when we dive into queer theory. Queer theory's connection to pedophilia. We were looking this up before. So, what exactly is queer theory again? Do you still have that up?
Queer theory?
Yeah.
Um, yes. Thinking Sex. That was written by what's her name? Gail Rubin.
Yeah.
Yeah, she wrote she's the one that wrote about queer theory.
Mm-hmm.
So
She essentially was saying in this essay, this 1984 essay, Thinking Sex, that she said that the value
it's
system of social groups.
here it is. It's queer theory
Mhm.
is a way of thinking that dismantles traditional assumptions about gender and sexual identity. The field emerged from sexuality studies and women's studies. Of course, women's studies would do that shit. Um, Queer theorists analyze gender and sexuality as a socially and culturally constructed concept. So they don't think that it's like at all, you know, nature. They think it's nurture. They think that we
Mhm.
created it, like it's man-made. Um, and it's
Yeah,
not.
Glenn, I don't know what your parents did wrong, why they didn't make you gay. Because if it's all nurture.
It's funny. Is like this is not even this information, this study, this whole fucking science theory is not even like 50 years old, bro. Like it emerged in the 1990s. All right. That's where it came from. Like, shit, we're still questioning fucking quantum physics and fucking, other theories that were established hundreds of years ago. We're still out, still trying to figure out some of that shit. But for some reason, queer theory, that's 100%. We could go off that. We know for a fact that queer theory is good.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what was going on in the 90s? A lot of dumb shit.
Yeah. We had frosted tips, didn't we? I miss those days.
Man, we were listening to boy bands back then. Bye, bye, bye.
Good old NSYNC.
We thought Backstreet Boys were cool.
Oh, was that Backstreet Boys, not NSYNC? I mixed
That
them both
was no
up.
Bye 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 was in sync.
Okay, there we go. No, but it's true. It's like, why can we be so firm on something that is so new? I'm not saying that any of this stuff, I mean, the pedophilia stuff I have problems with, but gender fluidity and transgenderism, I don't necessarily have a huge issue with it, but we don't fully understand it yet. And
Well,
if we don't understand it yet, we can't take definitive stance on things.
here's the interesting part about queer theory, right? So it says the goal of queer theory is to challenge traditional academic approaches and fight against social inequalities. So their whole point, this whole fucking fraud science was created to attack the natural norms. So let's see what are the natural norms of when it refers to sex. So you have gender, male and female, right? Then you have marriage. Marriage is defined originally as man and woman. So now you have that being attacked. Now you have the nuclear family. So when you destroy marriage, you destroy the nuclear family. And if you destroy the nuclear family, now you don't have family at all. Like they're it's this whole theory is literally, whether they meant to or not, it's being weaponized to destroy, you know, the traditional norms.
So queer theory and its connection to pedophilia. Wait a minute, really? Critical theory, as explained in a previous article about critical race theory, is an ideology that seeks to upend and destroy normative institutions, aka normal behavior, in order to overthrow the traditional establishment, which they view as oppressive. Okay? Queer theory is an offshoot under the many branches of critical theory, and Michel Foucault is known as the godfather of queer theory. Okay. Since the argument is that all traditional social norms have to be destroyed, it just sounds like anarchy. Foucault argued in favor of pedophilia because the traditionally patriarchal society establishes
Oh God, here we
dude,
go. It's the
dude,
patriarchy fault.
I can't I can't even do this because I fact checked this as well, and
It's
he
all the
did.
patriarchy. It's all the
He
patriarchy.
did. He argued in favor of it. So he claimed that because of this, because the traditional patriarchal society established the oppressive sexual norms, then children are able to give consent to sexual relations. What do you think, Glenn? Do you think that children are able to give consent? Do you think that your 6-year-old daughter or son is good to give consent?
Do you really want to really?
Well,
Like, you know what?
Foucault says it's fine. Queer theory says it's fine.
I don't even know why people listen to such stupid people. I mean, like, think about it. I thought like listening to stupid people was a modern day thing, but apparently it's been a thing for a long time. Like, we must listen to a lot of stupid ass people. No wonder why we're so fucked up as a nation. I mean, like, seriously.
It's crazy. And you know what's even more wild? It's not even just us as a nation. I mean, this guy, he was French.
Well, of course, that explains it.
Yeah, fluid, have fun, rejoice. But anyways, so to get an idea of what queer theory prescribes, watch this clip from Derek Jensen. This was an interesting one I shared with you, and we're just going to play this first, like 25 seconds here. So go ahead and pull this up.
And since you're not believing me, quote, this is in the founding document of queer theory. Like communists and homosexuals in the 1950s, boy lovers are so stigmatized that it is difficult to find defenders of their civil liberties, let alone for their erotic orientation. That's in the founding document of queer theory. Oh, I'm sorry, I'm using facts.
It's crazy. You know, the fact that we do not defend pedophiles and that they are stigmatized. And he used facts to prove that it's in the founding document, that it should be okay. I mean, what's wrong with you, Glenn? Why don't you agree with this? It's in the founding document.
You know what? According to them, there's a lot wrong with me. I have friends that are trans, right? And I met them, and they're very passable, very very passable. You know, like I wouldn't have known any other way. You know, the way they presented themselves, where they carried themselves, their mannerisms, even their features, like they were very feminine. So I've known them as females, and then when I was made aware that they're actually males, I still refer to them as females. But let me tell you this: if you're like a butch lesbian and you try to like pass off as a dude, I will call you ma'am, just by nature. It's by natural reaction. Yes, ma'am. If you're a dude, you know, I'll call you yes, sir. I don't care if you're wearing a pump and a skirt and whatever you want, you know, your makeup, and I will still call you sir. It is natural for me. And I don't even try to change it anymore. You know? So if I know you, if I don't know you and you come off trans, I'm like, what up, bro? What's up, bro? You know, like you're not gonna see. Here's the thing. It's like it's such a push to get people to believe someone else's delusion. Like all of it is. Think about it.
So here's the thing.
Or it's a lie. It's a push to believe someone's lie. Check this out. From go back to the founding documents, right? The founding for transgenderism was based on fraudulent work. It was falsified work that was a lie. So they wanted you to believe a lie then, so you could do surgery to practice these surgeries on people. So the foundation was a lie. All of it is based on a lie. So even the belief that you are this is based on a lie. The belief that you could be okay living like this is based on a lie. Like everything is based on a lie. So I'm not gonna fall into your trap. No. If you want to believe your lie, that's your thing. But you can't get me to believe it. No.
It's the same way that, like, I look at it this way. So everybody has their own specific sexual fetishes, right? So just because I like something and you really do not, does not mean that I'm going to force it on you. And I think that what this is all about is actually forcing acceptance, because they, maybe they can't find enough people that are okay with the way that they live their life. And this is another way to go about it. I mean, I don't know about you. I don't know any people that are like down with the pedophilia.
Well, I mean, I work in an industry where, like, it seems like every other day someone's getting outed out for that,
Yeah.
I mean, Hollywood is fucking disgusting with that shit, bro.
Yeah, it's crazy. And that's one of the things I can't wait to get into when we get into some of the consent laws in the third piece when we talk about it, because California has some wild consent laws. Swear to God, man. I just don't understand it. But I think that's really what it is. It's like it's a need for acceptance. And instead of just being like honest with somebody, talking through it with somebody, and accepting rejection, we're trying to force them to think the way that we want them to think. We're trying to force them, in that analogy that I'm using, we're trying to force them to have the fetish that I may have that you may not have. And I don't understand why we need to do that.
Yeah, neither do I. Because I don't get it. I don't get it. Why like I don't push my beliefs on anybody. I'm just kind of like, And here's the thing. You know where feminism stems from, right? Feminism. Basically,
where it stems from? Go ahead.
Yeah. Feminism, stems from Marxism. You know what also stems from Marxism?
Communism?
Queer theory.
Oh, does it?
Queer theory is gender Marxism. Even critical race theory is race Marxism. So Marxism is behind it all. That's like it's the foundation to somewhat. It's somewhere integrated into this. I haven't really dove deep into it, but I'm going to read into this right here, because this says it's interesting. Now, do you know what Marxism is?
I'm just refreshing to make sure I'm not misspeaking on it.
Okay.
Isn't it more like about the equality? It's not. Is it not communism, or
it stems from like it stems like from communistic, socialistic, belief.
Yeah. So from the Marxism ideology is communism. That's why when you asked that question, I was like, that's communism, right? Yeah.
Well, here, let's just pull up the accurate definition of Marxism. It's the political and economic theories of Karl Marx and Friedrich Engels, later developed by the followers based on the theory and practices of communism. Yes. So
it's all
Marxism,
equal, no matter what.
Marxism is a left-wing, far-left method of socioeconomic analysis that uses a materialist interpretation of historical development, better known as historical materialism, to understand class relations and social conflicts, and a dialectical perspective to view the social transformation. So basically, it's against capitalism. That's for damn sure. So I don't like it just based out right off the bat. I like capitalism. So, but so it's that queer theory is queer Marxism, which is a Marxist theory about a form of social culture property called normalcy, normality, and normativity that is believed to have been unjust, created, and in need of destruction and total abolishment. So that's really what Marxism wants to do. See, Marxism wants to take down democracy. It wants to get rid of democracy. It wants to get rid of having rights and vote.
Individuality,
Yeah,
your own
yeah.
opportunity.
It wants to destroy the way that, especially the way we do life here in America. You have freedoms, you have rights, you could do things. Like it wants to destroy our foundation, everything that we believe in as a nation.
Yeah,
And
it's a
so
completely different.
Yeah,
it's completely different than democracy.
So Marxism wants to destroy capitalism and democracy. Okay, queer theory here wants to destroy the way that we see gender, traditional gender roles, and everything. They want to destroy it's everything. All this shit, Marxism, feminism, Marxist or queer theory or queerism, like they're all about destroying things. It's not about adding to or bringing or building with. It's about destruction. It's about destruction of what we have.
Dude, I'll tell you what, and guess we could
Yeah.
take it in a dark way, but dude, it was like a year ago, and the line, it was cold, it was winter, around the same time as right now. And because it was cold, not a lot of girls go to the bars. And so I had an option. I could either wait in the long men's line, or the women's line was short for once. And I just walked right in to the women's bathroom, and I just said, I identify as a girl for the next 5 minutes. Totally acceptable. Why is that acceptable? Like, if my daughter is in a bathroom, I don't want strange older men coming into her bathroom and it being culturally acceptable. I didn't get in trouble. I didn't get kicked out. Some of the girls were laughing at it.
Yeah, bro, because it's so cool. You didn't know that? Like,
yeah, I didn't know I became a celebrity that day. It's just so dumb to me. I just don't understand why we're doing, like, what are we actually trying to work towards? Because with every move that you make in life, you should be going towards something. And if we're going, what direction are we trying to go? What are we trying to accomplish?
Let's look at it. Let's look at it from this perspective. You were born a boy, right? You're born with a dick.
I think so.
Okay. You were born that way. What does transgenderism do? Transgenderism tries to destroy what you feel, what you know for a fact, that you are male. You were born male. You were male. So what this whole queer theory and this whole pedophilia bullshit dude that try to create, is based off of destruction of Marxism, right? So Marxism is destruction. We wanted to destroy your body in the way that you identify yourself. We're going to eradicate the definition of what male is, what female is, what is considered. There's no such thing as what's considered socially acceptable anymore. No, all things. You must accept all things. So you know what? Right now it's pedophilia. So we're going to push to save the pedophiles, right? They're not monsters. They're not evil people. They're not breaking laws. They just, how would you feel if you just had this desire to love on someone that you're forbidden to love? Okay, cool. That's going to be the first move. Then what? When are you going to advocate for the rapists? Are we going to do the whole rapist march too? Like, look,
dude,
bitches.
That could go that direction, and that's what.
Here it is. Here it is. Like, look, bitches. Look, they desired you. How would you feel not being able to have the one that you desired? Like that argument, the argument for pedophilia, you could use it for the argument of rape and rapists, but nobody wants to use it for that, right? Because that's bad. No, rape is bad. So is pedophilia.
It's only bad so far. That's the whole thing. Is they're going step by step by step.
But like, if you eradicate, then what laws do we have? What laws? There's no laws. There's no structure. There's nothing to guide. No guidance. No guidelines. Nothing to live by.
I don't get it. I don't get it. And I think That was a really good point that you brought up, because Marxism and communism, it's all about all equal, no matter what. Nobody can be better than. And that's exactly what we're trying to do. We're trying to say that
Then what would be
everything.
here's the thing, like, what would be the point? Like, what would be the point of removing, people being like competition? Because that's what it is. Nobody's better than anybody. Well, then what'd be the point of even trying to do anything?
The whole point is
What's the motivation?
The
What
whole,
would be the motivation to improve your life? You couldn't.
you wouldn't.
You wouldn't be able to. Why? Because so you would have no motivation. You just sit around. Would we have any inventions? Would we create anything? No. So society at a whole would be just stagnant. It will start regressing. Because if you're not moving forward, you're regressing. So
yeah, there's a lot of things. I mean, we could totally dive into this at some point, but there's a lot of things about communism and Marxism that make a lot of sense. But it doesn't you can't turn a capitalist society like we have, a democratic society like we have, into that. It's just, you can't do that type of transition. It doesn't work. And you're right. I mean, if I am working a high level IT job or a high level sales job, and I'm making $200,000-$300,000 a year, it all goes back into the funnel, and I am viewed as equal as the McDonald's worker. So what do you care?
like, why would you try? What's the point in trying?
Yeah.
Like, I don't. What's the purpose?
It's almost like when they kind of push it in this gender way that you're talking about, it's almost like they want relationships in the solid family structure, which we know through all these different studies, time and time again, is the best way to raise families. They want that to go away.
And you know what they're doing, right? And the best way to do it is to teach it to the children, because they're not going to convince the adults that are parents that are like that want that family structure. That's the way to do it. So I mean, that's why they're infiltrating the education system. That's why they're trying to normalize this bullshit through Disney. That's why Disney's been called out for being groomers. I mean, like, but everything, this is what the sad thing is like, people don't realize that at the root of this is lies. From the very foundation and of this entire movement is built on pain of victims and lies. So yeah, you're parading around saying that you're an advocate and you're an ally, but do you even really know what you're an advocate and ally for? Because because you have to accept things for what they are, right? So it's like this group of people, or the transgenderism, queer theory, all that shit, all the LGBT, all that falls into this whole pot right here, right? This ball. The foundation of that was built on pedophiles molesting children, false and fake science that was disproven, a theory that's based on lies, that's uncredible, an uncredible theory that has no support, no credible evidence to support it, is now being pushed as truth. That's all based on lies. So yeah, remember who you are supporting. You're supporting John. When you praise you're an advocate or whatever, then you're saying I'm an ally to the guy that fucking cut off this dude's dick and made him become a girl, and then
pushed him to
the verge of suicide. Had him fuck his brother. That's what they're saying. That's what they're saying. When they say they support this movement and this group, then you're saying you support the fact that this guy not only had these two little boys sexually assault each other, watched it, took pictures of it, encouraged it, forced it upon them, and led them to their own suicide. Oh, well, so if you guys support that, then that's great. That's who you are. Great. Then you guys are a bunch of fucked ups too. Like, that's what it comes down to it.
It's just crazy. It's crazy, like, looking how deep the rabbit hole goes. Like, how deep the rabbit hole goes. Like, it's just pedophilia, it's child abuse, child sexual abuse. It is just a mess. And as I said before, and I've said many times throughout the series as we talk about it, I would bet that none of these people even know who John Money, Alfred Kinsey, any of these people are. They just don't know. And this is the basis. And they will fight tooth and nail and say that you're the problem.
No, it's
Even though
it's our toxic masculinity that's the problem. You know, it's like because
the toxic masculinity, the anti-feminist in us, like, get out of here. We've talked about this and we've said it many times. We don't have issues with transgender people. We don't have it. I don't have a single issue with somebody once they're an adult deciding to do whatever the hell they want to do. I don't care.
Neither
It's
do
just
I.
it's not worth my mental energy.
First of all, like me, I honestly believe I really don't give a fuck what people do with their lives. I really don't. If you want to chop off your penis and you want to be a girl, okay, do your thing. You're not going to convince me to believe you that you're a girl now. I mean, I know that you're a boy, so you know, if you want to believe a lie, that's fine. Do it. I'm not going to believe it, but I'm also not going to stop you, and I'm not going to speak against you from doing it. But
Yeah.
if you try to force me to accept it, no, I won't accept lies. Sorry.
And I think that's what's so dangerous with this whole thing. And that's why I think it's so great that we're talking about it. And, you know, the rabbit hole of the pedophilia does go a little bit deeper. So we started in the middle. Okay. So we started in 1966, I believe it was, when the botched circumcision was. So 1965 was when they were born, 66 was circumcision. Then we went back in time. And we went back in time to Alfred Kinsey. We went back in time to Foucault. And now we're going to go to modern day. In the next section, we're going to be talking about how these studies and everything else have kind of, I wouldn't necessarily say manipulated, but have formed the laws that we have today. We're going to talk a little bit about the age of consent, things you can and cannot get away with. And some of the things that I went back and forth with Glenn, oh my God, does this get disgusting?
This shit's probably gonna give people nightmares. I mean, like, I'm not even asleep and I feel like I have fucking nightmares.
It's crazy. I'm really excited for it though. And you know what? At the end of the day, if this just brings awareness to one person, it makes it all worth it. Because this is the type of stuff that people will yell at you about and you will not fight against because you don't want to fight. But when you're armed with the knowledge, then you can better understand the world around you instead of being told what the world is around you.
Yeah. Yeah.
You got any final thoughts?
People just need to verify everything. Like, don't even take the shit that we're saying on here as credible. Don't. If you don't want to, don't. But do the fucking research. Just do the fucking research. Just Google some shit, people. Google has it. That's what I've been doing. You can find this information out. You could read about it. You could see, and when you see where things have started, you have to ask why. And that's the thing, guys. Like, the question is, if you find something that started in such a negative form, its purpose was negative. Like, who cares if, like, think about this. They remove statues, right? Has nothing to do with what we're talking about, but I want to point out something as a correlation. They remove statues of, like, US, dignitaries and leaders from our past that have been known to have been associated with slavery. Okay. They removed those statues because why? Forget all the good things that they did. The slavery, the fact that they had slaves, was bad enough that we had to erase them from the pages of history. Okay. I'll agree. Whatever. That's cool. I support it. I understand why. But why aren't we doing this with them? Why aren't we doing this with this part here too? Why aren't we applying that same principle over here? That's all I'm asking people. I'm asking you to think for yourself and do your own research. And then ask yourselves, why are you supporting a movement or a group that's foundation, that its core foundation was built in crime and sexual abuse to children? That's all I gotta say.
It's perfect, man. That's perfect. I love that analogy. It's very, very true. Why don't we look at it that way? Instead, we keep it as fact.
Yep.
But anyways, guys, until next time.
This production was produced and edited by Glenn Lawrence Presents. It is 100% copyrighted and owned by Glenn Lawrence Presents Media Publications. For further information, reach out to Glenn Lawrence at Glenn Lawrence Presents on YouTube, Instagram, and all other social platforms.